Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We're thrilled to see you tonight and to have you here. Joining us for Transformational Breath, a Waterside chat with Transformational Breath Facilitator and Group Leader, Rich. My name is Abby, and I'm the Program Manager at Waterside. Waterside is a nonpartisan, nonprofit center for spiritual ecology, sponsored by the Sisters of St. Joseph of Peace. And today we have the pleasure of speaking with Rich, who is, like I mentioned, a Transformational Breath Facilitator and Group Leader. Rich has been practicing Transformational Breath since 2017, and he has experienced himself the benefits of Transformational Breath. Thank you so much for joining us today, Rich.
Great. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Abby, and thank you, Water Spirit, for having me for this talk. Because of COVID, we've lost a lot of momentum. You know, people don't want to come over and breathe and be in that environment, but it's nice to be able to talk about it and to talk to people who might be interested in it.
Thank you. Yeah, we are so excited, and I am so excited to talk to you today. I myself have also experienced the benefits of Transformational Breath, and I am psyched to hear more about this self-healing modality. Speaking about breathing is one of the most counterintuitive subjects that you can talk about because we don't think about it, just like we don't think about blinking our eyes or digesting our food. These aren't things that we normally think that we need to work on, but breathing is different because there are ways that we can breathe intentionally, and there are certain patterns of breathing that can change how you feel internally. So with that said, my first question for you, Rich, is what is transformational breath?
Okay, before I answer that, can I go back to something you said?
Of course, yeah.
It seems weird talking about breathing. Yes. But have you noticed that more and more Joe Rogan has podcasts on different people that are doing breath? They're the Nobel Prize for Medicine last year was given to two guys that were doing studies on breathing and the effects on the body. So it is becoming more popular, and it is becoming something that people, it's that simple. Yeah, it's just breathing. Yeah. But can you tell, Uncle Bob, are you breathing right now, or are you holding your breath? Yeah. Does anybody here find themselves at a bus stop, at a stoplight every once in a while, and you think, well, I don't even know when the last time I did it was, because we're in here and we stop breathing the way we're supposed to. Now, transformational breath, what is that? Very powerful, self-healing breathing process. Okay, that's what it is. And the self-healing is one of the most beautiful things about it, because I'm not a chiropractor who you come to me and I fix you and I send you home and then you have to come back to me to get better again. Once you've experienced this process a few times, take a few lessons, get some studying under your belt, you can do this yourself and then pass it on to other people. So it's I think that really makes it different in a huge, beautiful way. Now, what does transformational breath do? In this breathing process, what we're doing in the process of transformational breath is we're just bringing in more oxygen than you're used to doing, the way you breathe. Now, unless you breathe like this. Now, we don't walk around doing that. You'd probably get laughed at, maybe pushed over, somebody would mess with you a little bit. But if you lay down on your back and breathe in that fashion, you're bringing in so much more energy and so much more oxygen than your body is used to having. amazing things happen mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. Changes can happen in the body from the first session.
Excellent. So I'd love to know how you got your first experience with transformational breath. Can you tell us about
Okay.
that?
Yes, I will. I had a friend who was seeing regular doctors and not getting better. She asked to come down to Florida to do some healing, just a nice environment. Took her to a friend of ours, Karen Barr, who's a nurse and examines people's blood under a microscope. I took this friend of mine to see Karen, and Karen said she needs oxygen and you needed to take her to a breath session. I had never heard of that before, so I didn't say anything except, okay, I'll go do that. I took the phone number and made the call. We went the next day. I did the breath session. There were probably 12 to 15 people in the room at the time. And I got up after my breath session and I knew everything was different. And that this was going to be basically what I was going to do. I didn't know if I was going to be allowed to, but I knew I wanted to.
Awesome. Yeah. So how is transformational breath different from other self-healing modalities? What makes it different?
Different breathing techniques. You're breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. You alternate this side, that side. There's fire breath, gamma breath. There's a lot of different breathing techniques that I haven't personally experienced. I didn't have a lot of experience in the spiritual energy realm before I got introduced to transformational breath. So it's not like I was this guru walking around with, cool shirts and chains around my neck, learning this breathing modality. I had not a lot of experience at all with any of that. So when it came about, it was like, okay, I need to grab this. Now redirect me on your question. What was the?
No worries. I was curious how it's different from other breathing modalities.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
One thing that we do is before we even start the session, we call in spirit. Now, if you're a God person, you can ask for God. You can call Jesus, you can call Allah, you can call the Creator, you can call Gaia, whatever you want to call Mother Earth, but we're asking for assistance and support from the spirit realm. So that's one thing that's different. Second thing that's different is we do hands-on. Once you're in the breathing session, we intuitively find spots in your body that have formed low, dense pockets of energy. Because that's where that's negativity. It can be fear of speaking for yourself and speaking your truth. It can be the fear or you don't feel worthy of love. And in different parts of the body, these things manifest. One of the things that transformational breath does is it causes a law of physics called entrainment, which is when you introduce a low frequency to a higher frequency, the lower one will rise up to the higher one, not the opposite. So that negative low stuff you have in your body, once you start breathing in, gets kind of broken up and integrated into your body and has less power over you when you leave the session. There's so much to this. I can only say, there's just so many things to this. It's it's fun.
Yeah. That energy or wait, were you going to say something?
The smile is not something you get when you join Transformational Breath. It's not like they hand them out. They just kind of comes over time with clearing your junk out and getting to the real you. And because after that, when all the junk's cleared out, aren't we supposed to be just left with joy? Who we are as enlightened beings are, isn't that kind of the goal? Joy or pleasantness? I think the smiles show that. I think that's the best, description of what transformational breath does. It does that.
I love that. That's excellent. That's definitely a byproduct of doing transformational breath.
And they're hard to fake.
Yeah, I can attest.
It's hard to fake them.
Yeah.
But, okay, cool. So, found transformational breath. And then quickly, like I found it in the end of May, like the second week in May. And by June, the first week of June, I was in training to become a facilitator, because I knew, without really knowing what it was or what kind of changes or help I could be to other people, I knew that at this point in my life, I didn't have another way to positively affect people. And this just felt like the way that it was going to be. Like, this is your way. Go figure it out. And immediately I was in training, and within 8 months I was finished and helping teach people how to do this and pass it on.
Nice. Wow. Yeah, you were called to do it, and you're called for a reason. And it's something that connects us with our subconscious mind, which I think is really cool. Our mind houses our deepest thoughts, desires, beliefs. And, you talked about using this energy and energy flow that is created in the body when you do transformational breath.
Yeah.
And these negative emotions kind of being stuck in your body, but through the breath work, you're able to release these emotions.
Yeah.
And
even without you conscious, like you said, it's your subconscious mind. You're not saying, okay, I'm ready to let go of this childhood trauma right now, and it's going to take me 9 hours of crying to process it. You might not cry. You might cry for 2 hours straight. You might just have snot coming out of your nose. You don't know how it's going to come out, but stuff gets processed, big stuff. And without our tricky mind in the way,
mm-hmm.
because I'm not worthy of really being better, if I lose all my junk, who am I going to be then? That was part of my Carol Lee session. It was like, okay, Rich, there's this last part of you that you're holding on to. What are you holding on to? Why are you grasping so hard? And I didn't even know what it was, but I guess I was. It's just, we get told who we are and what we should be. And really, this kind of gets you to that higher self. We're taught to see the people that we work on as perfect, whole, not diseased, not broken, not emotionally wrecked. Just that miracle consciousness is what Judy calls it. You see people in their perfect light. And if they see themselves near that and we draw in the energy, then beautiful things can happen. And that's where that, the manifesting or the setting of an intention before your breath session comes in really big, because if you're not asking for it, what chance does it have of happening? None. If you're not asking for it, it stands no chance. If you're asking for it and you're putting your energies towards it and your thoughts and you're giving it up to spirit, we certainly have a much better chance then. It doesn't seem like a hard thing to tag along to. So the things and I've had religious people, very religious people say that I have a great connection to God. I have a great connection to my spirit. We've had nuns and pastors do it. And I think if you're that connected, you're going to have a better connection after. I mean, I've had people say they felt angels stacked from their chest to the ceiling. That's a pretty good spiritual connection to me.
Yeah, I'd say so. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, this is deep inner work, and it requires a level of courage to look within ourselves and acknowledge where we're not showing up in our lives. And this practice gives us the power to do something about it. We can use something that we all have, our breath, and find this power with it, which is
Can I just
remarkable.
describe a little bit of what a session's like and what you
Absolutely.
might feel along the way?
Yeah, that would be great.
Because, you'd say, okay, we're going to breathe in with our diaphragm. First of all, it's a diaphragmatic breath, which means it's not up here in your chest, not a quick pant. But if you breathe like that, doesn't that say something about your life and where you are now? Or if you take a deep breath in and you're afraid to let it out, you're afraid to exhale, you might not think that there's going to be another one out there for you, that like life has taught you, man, you're not promised anything. Or you might be afraid to breathe in before, you pause before the inhale because you don't think you're worthy of another breath. And this is all deep, 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 deep stuff. You're not thinking that, you're not consciously saying that. It's all that deep stuff. So what we do is we tell you, don't think about, you can set an intention. I see myself pain-free. I am pain-free. If somebody has back pain or neck pain, you can say, I need some more sales. I'm a real estate agent. I need some more clients. I need people to be drawn to me that need what I have. You can ask for it in an honest and decent way. It's not a greedy thing, but you put that out there, and we lay you down. You start breathing diaphragmatically. You let your belly get nice and big. You draw a nice breath in, and then you just let that diaphragm bounce back up in, and that's your exhale. So it's not a inhale and exhale the same amount. It's not that. It's a big inhale and a short, soft exhale. So it's like a and that's it. But after you do that for 3 to 5 minutes, you're going to start feeling tingling in your hands, maybe around your mouth, down the back of your neck, maybe in your legs. And it can happen just like that. I've seen 18-year-old people activated, freezing cold hands like they'd been holding ice within 2 minutes of breathing. And I can't explain that, but it's different for every person. And what this does is you're flooding your body with life force energy, which is called chi, right? Or ki, or, there's a lot of different names for it. But what it is, it's in every molecule of oxygen. There's a lot of empty space in every molecule of oxygen. That empty space is all universal knowledge and love. And when we bring that in, you don't have to say, hey, man, I got a bad knee. It knows. You don't have to say, hey, I was beaten down by my dad and I was never allowed to speak my truth. But when we find that dense pocket of energy on your side where it's stored up and we put some pressure on it and you breathe into it, you will feel it soften and dissipate. And life changes happen really amazingly. When you start to do this, like I had 2 breath sessions or 3 before I started the training. I came back with my dad and my son and did another session or 2. And so when I started learning how to do this, I had no idea the effect that I could have on people's lives. I've had sessions where I'm working on a woman and it has nothing to do with me, because remember we call in spirit. Spirit and the energy are what do the work. All as a facilitator, all we do is create a space for it to happen. I don't get to take credit for it. But having women get up after session saying that they processed being raped as a 15-year-old, and they were able to do that because of my male energy being there in a supportive, loving way instead of a negative way, gave them belief and helped them process that. And I got a hug from that woman, like, how do you know that that could happen? That you could really touch somebody's life like that. So it's just been one, men, women, young, old, it doesn't matter. Everybody has something miraculous happen.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that was my next question. Is it all right for individuals with certain health problems to do transformational breath, or are there limitations, or is it?
There are some. You've got people with heart disease. You got to treat them, really, really carefully. Pregnant people, pregnant women. There are certain spots on the body that if you press, you can induce labor. But is breathing itself bad for old people? No. Is it bad for people with heart disease? No. Is it bad for people with lung transplants? No. The only time I've seen people not able to get into the breath is when they were so in their head that they couldn't allow themselves to get into the process. They were too worried about, am I doing it right? Their life stuff that they bring in with them, they weren't able to unlock that and get it out of the way and let the breath do its work. It doesn't happen often, because even like if a breath session, if you're breathing for 50 minutes, if you do it wrong for 45 and breathe right for 5, you've just breathed right for 5 minutes that you haven't in the last, however many years of your life. So it's good. And you just get better. We tell people to start out with a 5-minute long song and breathe along with that 5 minutes. That's it. And not going to be life-changing, huge, sweeping, miraculous changes, but you're doing something every day that you didn't do before. And it's positive, it's self-empowering, and it just kind of puts a little armor, a little energetic armor on me. I feel a little more Teflon.
Nice. Yeah. So would you say that there is an optimum way to breathe during our daily lives, or is it?
I don't know, because I know too many yoga people, and they all say you're supposed to breathe in through your nose.
Right.
Right. So, and that's the healthiest way for the body it activates certain stimulations that the body needs. The reason we breathe in and out through the mouth in transformational breath is just sheerly for volume. Is a lot more than, you can do it. You can get a lot in. I can't. Well, some people can. But so we just have people with their mouth open, in and out through the mouth, a lot of volume, so we can bring a lot of energy, have a lot of change, and a lot of positive effects from the breath. And there's music playing while you're breathing. And the breath is also connected breath. Remember, we were talking about pausing before, after an inhale or an exhale. We don't want any pauses. We want a steady flow of in and out. Just you get that going, and we have music playing so that you can't hear the person next to you breathing and they can't hear you. So it's a little bit more anonymous. And then what happens when you start feeling that tingling and you're going, wow, this guy was for real. This stuff's really happening. You can tone, which is just expressing yourself with your voice and adding another frequency into the mix right now, because you are a frequency. The energy is a frequency, and you start adding that voice in, and then a facilitator comes over and joins you and matches you and kind of harmonizes with you in a way. And you can feel the energy just kind of move to other places in your body that it wasn't before.
Yeah.
So we and then also you can feel like now before we were talking about processing emotions, and I said, well, you could cry for 9 hours or not cry at all. You could also be really angry and have rage come out of you and need to punch something or kick something. And we have certain techniques of grabbing your arms and having you pull, or using your legs to push against us. We don't do that in big groups so as much, because it takes effort and time and focus. And when somebody's going through something like that, you want to have that time and attention on them. But there are ways to help people get aggression and rage out, and it can be tears, and it can be screaming, and it can be, top of your lungs, really letting it out. And everything is okay. Everything is perfect. And there's no judgments on anything that I've ever seen come out of a human being in a session.
Yeah, the powerfulness of the emotions that come through during a breathing session it's hard to prepare somebody for, because everyone's session is so different. But yeah, it's definitely, it's just so relieving afterwards, because you don't even necessarily realize how much emotional matter you're carrying inside of you until you go through a process like this and you're able to let it out and release it.
What isn't there.
Yeah.
You're feeling what has left. And one thing I'd like to say is the lady that designed this, or that came up with this breathing pattern, her name is Dr. Judy Kravitz. And she's a doctor of metaphysics. So she is the guru, spiritual healer, been doing Reiki for decades and decades, and doing transformational breath for decades and decades. And she's still alive, and she's still around, and she's still teaching. So I actually got to learn from her. And now when I get called from her to go teach alongside with her, I'm learning from the queen. And she is the most loving human being. Like I think she's in her, I'm not going to say how old she's older. And when you do breath sessions, you're sitting on the ground. So you're either on hardwood, tile, or whatever the floor is, marble, whatever. And she go all day. She's going from hip to hip, side to side, going around, working on people and freeing people from their emotional trauma. And she goes all over the globe, China, Turkey. We're in 51 countries. Transformational Breath is in 51 countries, and all of their materials are transcribed into like 11 different languages. So it's global, and it's growing. It's the fastest growing breath school on the globe, on the planet. And you might not have ever heard of it, and you aren't going to see a commercial for it. But what I'll tell you is that transformationalbreath.com, you'll be able to find, like, you can't just go to YouTube and watch a session. Nobody puts them up. That's not the way you're going to learn about this. It's almost like a heart to heart when it's needed, when you need it, when you're going to ask for it, or you're going to bump into me and say, what do you do? And I'm going to say, I'm a breath therapist. And you're going to go, what is that? And, it doesn't matter if you're a 6'4" Brazilian guy. I've had 75-year-old meditation guys here whose arms are floating up towards the spirit, towards spirit. And they're just like in spirit. And they get up and they're like, I've never had anything like this in my life. And that's what where it gets fun for us is I get to hear it. Now, like Abby's fiance, Devin, had a breath session. I facilitated it. During the session, no big tears or anger or crying. So I didn't know what happened. But when he stood up at the end, he said, this significant change happened in me, and I know I'm different. And I'm not the same going forward. That's what can happen. You know, that's what can happen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's monumental stuff.
And also think about, like, I go to these breaths, like a seminar where there are 30 students that are learning how to become breath facilitators. So there's 30 of them. There's close to 30 of us. It's almost one-on-one teaching. So we're there learning it again, but also learning how to pass it down. And if I'm trying to teach you how to heal people and heal yourself with love and universal goodness, it's a really pleasant environment to be in for a week. I mean, you're hanging out with people and it's nothing but hugs and love, and it's not fake. It's not, you know, there's nothing gained by faking joy. I guess maybe there is. I don't know. But there's some beautiful people, and you spend a week doing it and you leave there and it really does feel like a family. Like, you know that if I'm going through Kansas and I gotta stop, I can call this lady, Janine, and she'll let me stay at her house. I just know, and I've spent a week with her. I know it. There's no doubt. And it's, yeah, a bunch of beautiful people. So Judy's still in it. Judy's still teaching. Her kids are all doing it. She's got 8 children. I don't know how many of them do transformational breath, but I've met 3 of them. And they're all growing it all over the globe. And and it's also another thing. It's like you say, oh, I'm going to learn a skill where I can go work with other people. Well, I don't want you taking my people. So if you live in my town, I'm not really that excited about you learning how to do this. If I'm any other business, chiropractor, I don't want you setting up shop next to me. But I know that in this, that if Abby lived next door to me, she would never ask, or the same people wouldn't ask her that would find me and contact, and we would affect different people, and naturally. So it's not something that we don't want you to learn how to do this. You're going to take our business away. It's not that at all. Right. It's let's heal this planet.
Yeah, it's not a competition.
Let's heal people.
Yeah, it's a family. It becomes
a
community.
And there's a lot of tears, man. I cry all the time now. I'm soft. They got me all gooey. They got me up in front of all these people, and I'm bawling my eyes out. I was a Marine. You know, I was a tough guy once. You know, it just doesn't pay. You know, it's just no good. It's not healthy.
Yeah.
All that emotion and stuff.
You gotta let that out, man. Yeah. So what are you gonna do with transformational breath in the future? What are your plans?
Well, if the world ever returns to the way it was, what I was going to do then was stay on the path of teaching, because there are so few men that do this. Having that male energy in the room changes the entire breath session. Just as the same as it, when people come here and have a breath session with a guy, with me leading it, it's different if they wanted it to be very feminine. Now, I do have some effeminate parts to me, and my divine masculine, divine feminine. I've had women say that they thought a woman was working with them during a breath session, and it was me. So there is that energy that can come out of me, but just as me adding to it, I guess I could detract from it. You know, there are some women that are so affected by men that they couldn't allow an experience to happen with a dude in the room. And that, and there's definitely there's religion, like one of the Jewish religions or parts of it. I wasn't allowed to touch the woman, facilitate and do her session. I could just talk to her. But cool.
Awesome. Yeah. And you mentioned the website,
Right.
transformationalbreath.com.
Okay. So what you can find there is, is anybody here in a different state besides Uncle Bob's in Colorado? The lady that's that's in the orange shirt on the end. Is she in New Jersey? Abby? All right, I can't hear anybody.
I'm not sure. Hold on.
Okay, all right. When you go to the site, there is a tab that says practitioners. So you can tab on that and it'll bring down by state who is available as a certified facilitator or group leader. And then you can go to the one that's closest to your home and call them and say, hey, I'd like to do either a one-on-one, because you can do a breath session just one-on-one, or you can do it in a group. And I think the groups have to be not limited in size now because of COVID, but excuse me.
Awesome. No, that's great to know.
What I was going to do is I want to continue training, and I'd like to travel and do that because they've asked me to go to Italy. I've been asked to go to the Bahamas. They wanted us to go to Turkey. And because I am a guy, there's so few of us that are doing it. I have a real opportunity to go out there and affect people just by doing this. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what else is on Transformational Breath? For us, on transformationalbreath.com, there's all kinds of articles that you can find to read about it. There'll be stories about Judy Kravitz and when she started it, and the different countries that we're in. The site has a lot of good information to it. So please go there and find a facilitator. Don't be afraid. You know, call somebody and say, hey, I just saw this guy smiling in Florida talking about transformational breath and I want to do a session. What do I do? Because I don't know what they're going to tell you because of COVID. They might not be doing anything at all. They might be doing it on Zoom. They might. I'll have people here. If they want to come breathe, I have people here. I'm not getting it. My vibrational energy is too high. I'm not getting it. It's not happening.
Yeah.
So people do it. And you could find somebody and say, hey, I'll wear a mask, you wear a mask, whatever. And you'll find somebody that will help you out and get the healing started for any kind of healing, physical, childhood stuff. There's even birth trauma. You know, there's stuff that people go through in birth, like before they even come out, they know they're not wanted. They can hear the fighting. They can feel the tension. They know they're not wanted, and they hold on and they hold on and they hold on. That stuff's all real, man. That's cellular knowledge. And that little thing that comes out then gets yelled at and turns into this little, have you guys talked all about the water experiments? Talking nicely to water droplets and then telling them that they're hated? That Japanese
water, yeah.
Yeah. You guys all know about that up top? Yeah.
Rich gave me this book.
They take microscopic pictures of water that has been told that it's loved, and it looks like a snowflake. Symmetrical and beautiful. And hate, you're hated, it's globbed, and it looks like lava. It's really, so if you think if we're 70% water, and you got parents hating on kids, telling them you're never this, you're not good enough, Everybody needs to breathe.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because, and,
For
and
everyone.
it's like, I had a young man here a couple weeks ago, 23-year-old, who's got dad issues. His dad always smacking him down, beating him down, never had a voice, wasn't allowed to speak his truth. He had a breath session here and he got up and he went home and he confronted his dad and he said, it wasn't okay when you did it to me, but I'm not here for me. I'm here for my little brother. This needs to stop. So it's like,
Wow.
that can,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Rich, you've given us so much information. This has been so wonderful. I'd love to open up the floor for any questions, because we have about 15 minutes left. So if anyone has any questions for Rich.
except Uncle Bob. No, you can ask one, Bob.
Anyone can ask a question. So you can either type it into the chat, or you can raise your hand and let me know, and I'll unmute your microphone and you can ask the question to Rich yourself. So, but I have a few more questions too. But
yes, we hand out tissues during breath.
yeah.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah, excellent.
Someone else does. Hi, everyone. Rich, thank you so much for being here tonight. I had the pleasure of participating in the workshop with Rich that Water Spirit hosted back in February of this year. So it was an in-person workshop. And as I'm in this, moment of the pandemic where I am feeling very risk averse and spending a lot of time inside of my house and with my son's schooling going on inside of our house, I've done a lot of reflecting on this moment of so much action within stillness, right? Since we're here in this very limited space. And in a similar, though much more enjoyable way, that was one of the things that impressed me about the Transformational Breath session, is that so much was going on inside, even though I was essentially still. I was lying down and I was just breathing. But sensation after sensation just arose. I was sweating so much at one point in time, and then I was freezing cold, or parts of my body would seize up and then relax, or tingle and then relax, and so much was going on just in the middle of stillness. And I remember how wonderful it felt to be in that session. And I wanted to share that a little bit first before I pose a question to you. Particularly now during this moment, where I've been taking in a lot of information about the outside world and feeling a little bit more more easily stressed or more easily thrown off kilter. At these times when using these tools like stopping and meditating and breathing and so forth, when they would be particularly helpful, those can be some of the times that I find most challenging to actually sit down and do it. And I was wondering if you have any tips or suggestions for how to sit down and focus on this mind, body, spirit connection at the moments when we actually need it.
Okay, I'm going to do that, but first I'm going to go back and I want to thank you for sharing what happened during your session, because when you do a big group like that, you don't get to hear everybody's story. And it's great to hear that you had something that was multifaceted and affected you. That's really cool. The going from total ice to total heat, you'd need a doctor to explain that, right? I don't know how it happens, but it's an amazing thing. That young man I told you about with the frozen hands had absolutely drenched sweat down his back, but his hands were so cold. I felt like if I moved his fingers, they would snap. It was that rigid and iced. It was very bizarre. Now, to your question of how do we center when things are so static? Practice over and over and over again, because it's not going to happen the first 6 minutes for sure, right? And it's a yoga practice, it's a meditation practice, it's a breath practice, it's doing it over and over until, how do you describe it? Train wheels, clouds going by? How do you label the sounds or the voices? Are you allowed to answer me? Can you click on?
I can, and I'm
Okay.
thinking about it actually.
Okay.
You mean, what do I call the like
The noise, the
thoughts
train
are going through?
going by, is the clouds going by?
I think the phrase I've been circulating in our house is monkey mind a lot. My son has really latched onto that phrase.
All
So we're
right.
talking a lot about, okay, it's just that monkey mind, the sounds that are just sounds, and it's okay to not be attached to them, to just let them go.
Yeah. One of the things, like when we said practice, the breath session that we did was 50 minutes long. There are shorter sessions, like a 20-minute session. And there's something called 100 breaths of joy, which is just you laying down and doing 100 breaths. Now, counting to 100 while you're breathing, you're not going to probably be able to keep that connection, to where you're really keeping count. But there are things on the Transformational Breath website that you can buy, like a CD, or now they have zip drives that have Judy leading you in a breath session. So you can plug in a zip drive and have her leading you, saying, okay, breathe with your belly, put your hand on your heart, inhale, exhale, and she walks you through it. And that helps click out your mind that's saying, what am I supposed to do? Because she's telling you. And it kind of helps you walk down that path of getting the practice down to where it's easier to get all the noise out, the monkey brain. So the practice would be my answer. And good on you for asking, because most people are like, I'm too fried, man. I'm done. I'm not meditating at all. And they stop. But you're there. You're still trying. That's great. Yeah. I just started again. I started to practice. I go to the beach at 8 o'clock. And I've been doing, there's another breath practice called Wim Hof. He's I think he's Polish. Not sure. But he's a European guy, and he does ice baths and a much more exaggerated, deep, masculine breathing technique. And it has effects, and it does help with things. But I do that one now at the beach in the morning, and that just is part of my morning. Get myself ready for life. It's a good thing to do.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Devin and I also practice Wim Hof breathing methods. And there's breath holds that he also incorporates in those methods, which is great for if you're practicing holding your breath, like we do sometimes for being in the ocean, diving and swimming. But yeah, Wim Hof is great. I'll also leave that information in the chat, his website as well. That's another great one.
One thing that when you do a Wim Hof session and when you do a transformational breath session, two things that are with something similar about them both is after the session's over, the work isn't finished. You have brought in extra energy into your body. Stuff's happening that wasn't happening before. So whether you do it for 15 minutes with him or 45 minutes with Judy, you are altering your body to a cellular level. And that's how we get healed. So it is growing. There's a new book out that people have been promoting to me about breathing that I haven't picked up yet, but that one just came out. And like my dad's 78 years old and he's breathing every day. Since I started doing this, he breathes more than I do. And he does Reiki. He's a Reiki 2 guy now. And that all happened. And he was, white collar conservative, never used his own intuition, he said, and he sees everything black and white. And now he's sending healing energy to my son when he's playing a lacrosse game in Virginia. He wants to know when the game starts so he can focus the energy and send it to my son, my dad. And it's like, yeah, this stuff works, man. This is good stuff.
I love that. That's so
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. Did you, I might have missed it, but did you mention the name of that book that's
I don't
coming?
know. I don't know it. I
Okay.
don't know the one that just came out. But there are books on the transformational site. Judy's written books. There's a book by Michael Brown called The Presence Process, which is a pretty popular book in the energetic spiritual realm about being right here in the moment. And that's kind of going back to Blair, to where the monkey brain, is the monkey brain thinking about what hasn't happened yet, or is he thinking about what has happened? Where are you spending your time? Because if you're spending it right here, it's calm and peaceful. It's worrying about that or that. That's where we get all twisted up. What's it going to be? How's it going to happen? But right here, right now, we're perfect. Even your kids who you've been with for 5 months. I actually asked somebody if they wanted Jackson today. Was it you? Did I ask Abby, did I say, do you want him? I said, I take Leo, you take Jack.
Oh, yeah, you did ask me that. Yeah.
He's a great kid. I just don't want to be with him anymore. And he doesn't want to be with me. No, he does.
Yeah, you guys are, everyone's getting to know each other even deeper these past 5 months.
And Blair, you said something about how a lot is going on in our lives, even though we're not allowed to be doing a lot of movement, right? And I wonder, is there always a lot of stuff going on in our lives, but because we're always so full of motion that we don't acknowledge any of them. And it's just now because I am sitting here day after day and able to go, wow, you know, my daughter had twins and this is an amazing time in my life, even though COVID's going on. Or, wow, COVID's happening, I'm limited, but I just watched my son and his fiance, you know, move to their dream. And, you know, I've got a great partner in my life, and that's all happened since this happened. So life hasn't stopped. We're just maybe looking at it in a different, you know, in a totally different way.
Yeah, that's so true. The perspective matters for sure.
And gratitude, having a little gratitude.
Gratitude, it's being thankful.
Yeah.
Well, I am so thankful. Speaking of gratitude and thankfulness, I am
Can
so.
I ask Abby a question real quick and interrupt her? Hold on.
Yeah,
When do we get to come back? When do we get to come back and breathe again? You don't know.
I don't know. That's a great question.
But we will.
Yes, we will. Yeah,
I
like
won't
Blair
interrupt you
mentioned.
again.
Yeah, we had the pleasure of having Rich in person at an introductory transformational breath session in New Jersey at Water Spirit headquarters, and it was phenomenal. It was so cool. It was, you know, there were people that, you know, came into the session and they were like, I'm not going to feel anything. You know, my friend dragged me here. I don't really want to be here, you know. And then at the end, they were the ones that were like, this is amazing. I'm so psyched about this. Like, it's so different for everyone. And it's something that you just have to try yourself. That the worst thing that could happen is you'll have more joy in your life. That really is the worst thing that could happen. And it's probably the least thing that could happen too when you experience it, is you'll feel better. You'll feel happier. You'll feel better. You'll feel lighter. And not, you know, you can do it one time, you could do it thousands of times. I think there's no limit. And it's really geared for everyone, no matter what their motivation is, which is also what makes it really incredible too.
And because it is just breathing, it can be people that are, you know, paralyzed. You can have people that are bedridden. They can breathe. They can. There's a girl that is a facilitator. She's had a double lung transplant. And she does this this is her living. So she's, it certainly can be done.
Yeah. If
you guys find any questions along the way and you can't get them answered on transformationalbreath.com, reach out. I'm here. you can find me through Abby, and maybe we'll get to do a session up there someday soon. That'd be great. I'd love to come up again.
Absolutely. Do you do any remote breath sessions?
I did a couple, but I personally don't like leaving somebody activated and in emotional need and me not being able to be there.
Right.
I'm not saying it can't be done, and I'm not saying people aren't doing it and that it's okay to do. That's not something I wanted to do. And I'm still doing it here, so it's okay.
Yeah. Excellent. Well,
Thank you guys so much for letting me be here.
Thank you. Yeah. Some doors only open from the inside, and breath is a way of accessing those doors. That's how I think of it. It's been incredible having you here with us tonight, Rich. This is just so great. It's not only great to see you, but so great to talk to you and hear more about transformational breath. And I can't thank you enough for joining us. We really, really appreciate it.